Hi, how you going? Excellent. Sales enablement's come a long way in the last 5 years particularly, and I was asked to sort of tell our story from what we've been doing with sales enablement over that time. A couple of stats I do remember. I think back in 2013, when CSO Insights did their first sort of big sales enablement study, there were 13% of companies that had a sales enablement function, or I guess a bit of a question sales enablement was starting to come in. More recently, about 70% of companies in their global study, and in my industry, in the tech industry, it's over 90% now, or have an initiative or a sales enablement function. So in Australia, so over the last few years, that's been growing, and yeah, so I thought I'd tell you our story and what we've been doing over that period of time. So yeah, look, I start with this quote. Mark McGuinness and Bob Apollo recently reminded us of this quote, which is from CEB when they were referring to the Challenger sale, if you're familiar with a Challenger salesperson. So as a customer of Challenger and a facilitator of Challenger, I naturally loved this when I saw it recently on LinkedIn. So even though, for me, even though the drinks look pretty, it's about, are we simply serving our customers what they want, potentially leaving them with a hangover, which what Gartner called purchase regret, or are we respectfully challenging the customer's thinking and helping them see what they potentially can't see themselves? And even though it may help, even though it may hurt a little bit, the outcome is usually better than the hangover. So given that thinking, where I then got to thinking, well, what about sales enablement? Are we bartenders just serving and being tactical with our sales organisation, or are we challenging the customer as well and serving the organisation and the sales organisation like personal trainers? So I'll come back to that. But to tell you where our story and my story started, for me, timing was everything. And it was about 2015. I've spent 20 years managing sales teams, with my head in P&Ls, complaining about the very little time you get to do in the strategic work, the stuff that you love. But, you know, you're drowning always in that, the middle reporting, etc. Sorry, that's annoying me. And so I wanted to do some more strategic work. Not that that wasn't strategic work. I was just coming back off my third maternity leave. That was my reality at the time when I'm thinking about where do I need to be? What do I want to be doing? So am I going to go back to my sales team that sometimes, which I loved dearly, but sometimes feels like hygiene work, making sure they're doing their forecasting and not enough time on the proactive things? So I took myself off to did a bit of research while I'm still on mat leave and met with our CEO directly and a lot of our sales execs, because I could see the things that we were still missing and that I was still hearing that was missing in our business. So timing was good because at Data3 we were looking to transform and grow our core business and move more from a product-centric to a services-centric business. And so we just announced that we were doing those sorts of transitions, and we set up a platform which we called T4. And I'd spent some time with the CEO, and I was lucky that one of the pillars in T4 was sales enablement, and I got to lead that. But what was it? You know, in 2015, not many definitions around sales enablement. So I got to Google. I went to Google, too many definitions, sometimes not really much at all there. And, you know, who was doing it? You know, who should I start following? Who should I start connecting with? Anyway, I found the people that were really starting to lead the way and get that going around 2015. So timing was great for me personally. And then I found the Sales Enablement Society, and I'm sure Iris, who leads the Australian chapters here will talk to us a little bit more about that tomorrow. But the Sales Enablement Society, I saw it actually start. Scott Santucci was someone I had found. He was talking about sales enablement on LinkedIn, and saw him put a call out on LinkedIn. If anyone wants to get together in the DC area, let's meet up on this date. And I'm over here going, oh, wouldn't that be nice to go to? Anyway, it's obviously grown over the last 4 years quite significantly. And what I love about it is the ecosystem and the sharing economy that's part of the SES. And when I say the ecosystem, there's no selling in the Sales Enablement Society. You kind of get kicked out if you're trying to be sold to. But the ecosystem, it's full of practitioners like me and you. It's full of analysts, so those researching sales, talent, all the things that we need to know in the sales market, and they're freely offering their advice. There's academics, so those that are running sales schools and sales degrees. Like in the US, there's over 130 universities you can get a sales degree from now. I'd take them any day over here. People who spent 3 years selling in their education and training, and those young people coming out there making their IBM club, and they're smashing their numbers the moment coming out of that school. And I think we'll see some more of that evolve over time here in Australia. But then we've also got your tech stack vendors and the enablement platforms and consultants. So they're your coaches, etc. So that what I love about it is that ecosystem of many voices, all about trying to drive the profession of sales enablement and sales in general, really. And it's a sharing economy, so you are sharing what you do in your IP, I guess like we are today, with each other in a way it's like open source to me, and that's what I was really loved by it. Locally, yeah, I met some amazing peers here locally and people that helped me that certainly were into sales enablement before I were, but they were typically working for global companies who are leading a direction, and they were making what they got and creating it here. I was trying to stand something up from scratch. So even with all of that, I still felt a little bit lost. And then it dawned on me that it was actually bigger than sales enablement. I really need to know the market trends, what the best practice in sales was going on, and what was going on with buyer behaviour and the customers, the end customers. So to really drive change and the sales transformation through sales enablement in my business, I needed that external perspective so it could give me a voice and some data with my business. It wasn't just me ringing a bell saying, let's do this. So having that holistic view of the market I found exceptionally useful. There's a couple of people leading the way in sales enablement and sales research there. So I got myself out, went to the very first SES Global Conference that happened within a year of those 5 people getting together, and there was probably 250 of us. And I think, congratulations to Heather and the team. This is our first sort of summit or conference here in Australia, and we're really lucky. I'm sure it'll build from here. And I went and personally connected, used the Australian accent and walked up to my gurus I was following and introduced myself and got engaged and involved with them and met them. And for some of them I asked to directly mentor me, and they have, and I'm very lucky for that. But I was struggling with how to put it all together. And I'll tell you that in a tick. But just to put some context, because a lot of people don't necessarily know who Data3 is, I feel pretty privileged amongst some of the logos I'm talking with here today. We've been in business for over 40 years, and I just wanted to add some context to who we are and the sort of sellers, the number of quota-carrying sellers, which I call that are eligible to make club. We had about 110 people and a big pre-sales team of about 70 people as well. But that's just to put some context into it. And I wanted to show you our core purpose, because this was like my bingo card, my ticket to drive. Our core purpose is to enable our customers' success. So when talking to reps, and thinking about sales enablement and development, this is what I hang on to, and I make sense of our company core purpose for our sellers, because they really are there to help our customers build better businesses. Otherwise, you're just the used car salesperson, or perceived as, that Hollywood's painted a bad picture of. Anyway, back to, I needed to do a reality check. So I benchmarked Data 3 against our global best practice. And with sales enablement and without sales enablement, CSO Insights in one of their studies, and it was similar with Serious Decisions and Gartner studies, that this was the percentage of reps making quota with and without sales enablement. So where we had 44% of our reps making quota, and so we were obviously falling far behind. But what I was concerned about is, were we about to do what others do and keep throwing more resources at the revenue issue? Let's just employ more salespeople. Let's just put more headcount in our budget planning to get more salespeople on, or should we be doing something different? We're going to just keep ploughing the land till there's nothing left and not making, I guess, the crops grow. So, and the sales enablement we did have some sales enablement in some parts of our business, and were they effective? So I had to do that reality check with the team, and some of that data gave me a voice. So I grabbed this sales enablement maturity curve that actually HubSpot posted at some point, and I got the team that did exist to self-assess, and they said they were only at tactical at best, really. They thought they were further out, and their management that were driving them thought they were further, but the reality was that, in fact, some programs didn't work, like just one program that didn't work compared to all the good stuff. They were branded sales disablement by one or two reps, and we know how bad news spreads, right? So that was heartbreaking for the people trying really hard. So at times, and then there was this, just by adding extra processes, thinking we're streamlining, we're often adding and creating seller burden. So I think that's something to really think about, but that reality obviously hurt. So we needed to reset and target where we wanted to be and by when. So we wanted to be at that strategic level around about now. It is a hard slog. The reality of a sales enablement, it is a hard slog. So this is me with blonde hair. I then went on this quest because I still needed to make sense of it for the business and what we needed to do with sales enablement, not just let's put some money, this is a cost to the sales organisation, let's hope they improve the seller's environment. I felt like I needed to find a framework to work within, and something that, these were my minimum criteria. It had to be customer-centric, as in not the seller, but the end user. It had to align to what customers are doing in the market. I had to be able to talk to our strategic objectives and align to all the operational actions in the business. And I needed to be able to collaborate with the other business functions, because you can't do enablement on your own. Enablement happens everywhere in various functions, and it's tapping into that. And I had to do that so I could ask for a seat at the table. And at one of the sales enablement conferences, I'm chatting to one of my gurus, that's Tamara Schenk, if you don't know her. She's talking in one of her sessions and starts to introduce what she's bringing out, which was this thing called Sales Enablement Clarity Model. So this is what I mostly work off. The way she talks about it is, you have rough diamonds. There is no real diamond that comes out of the ground that's perfect. Everything's a rough diamond that needs crafting and cutting, and that's one way to look at sales enablement. So first was, customers, not sales, are the design point of all sales enablement services. So that's why the customer is at the very top. That's our end user customer of this framework. Part of their study shows that dynamic alignment to the customer's path or the customer's buying journey improves your win rates and rep quota. So we then have our customer-facing professionals and their reps, the people we're serving internally and working on behalf of. And then if you look down the bottom, you need to have sort of like a charter or a business plan, and the process of designing and going through that enables you to do those connections I was talking about before. And then the services, if you look at the green facet there of the diamond, you know, we need to reset and redefine those services aligned to the buying journey. And so that what I mean, if we're serving, you know, if we're working with content or training, is the buyer, is the customer at the early part of their sales stage where they're learning and understanding their needs, or are they in the closing negotiating? So are you serving the right content or training aligned to that buying journey? And then sales enablement plays this orchestrating role. You need to be able to collaborate formally with your marketing team, as Kat talked about, with other functions of the business, and I'll show you what we did shortly. And have an influence, obviously, on the sales tech stack, and certainly if it's going into sales platforms and sales process, and set some governance and metrics around what it is that you're delivering on. So Tamara and Byron Matthews, a year later, then wrote a book that explains a lot more about this. So if you haven't already looked at it, read it, grab it, read it. There's a number of books out there, but this is one that makes a lot of sense to me because of those things that I was looking to be able to talk to the business strategically and align to the customer. So then we had to reset out what our sort of vision, or, you know, what was our aspirational goal for the business around sales enablement, which is the definition that we use down the bottom. And there still is a number of definitions out there as what works for you. This works for us, and this is what we're aspiring to. And then I redefined or categorised the services we offer for sales. And one of them is content, the other one's the tools, and then what I like to call talent. So these are when I talk about orchestrating on behalf of sales with the other various business functions, this is what I mean. So from a content, so that is working with your marketing team around content, and our solutions group, which is if you make stuff for your product development. Tools, we're working with sales ops and IPT. And from a talent perspective, we're working with our organisational development team and HR team. So that's how I did the alignment of the services. What I did next was created a strategy document that for sales enablement with the business, just in time for our company strategic planning. So we do strategic planning for the next 3 years every year. And so prepared this as part of the pre-work for the strategy team. Combined all the research I was talking about, plus a lot of our own data and the framework. And to get it verified, I used external and internal sponsors on that. So found a state GM and said, does this make sense if I was to roll this out and your business gets this? Found some external people to vet it as well, to make sure I wasn't off my rocker, and what others were doing, etc. So as you can see, I report to the EGM, and did the final iteration with him, and he got that messaged out to the GMs of the business and other business units. And our CMO and our head of solutions were part of collaborating with me on that document. So I already had their buy-in. All right, so we've delivered heaps of services. I'll just talk quickly to some of the achievements we've done. If I talk to tools first, one of the things, how much time have I got? Yep. Okay, so from a sales process, while this was all happening, I took our sales process, our sales stages that are in Salesforce, in our CRM. They're all very much about what the rep has to do next. And I turn that upside down and say, what does the customer need to be doing next? So what is the next action we need the customer to be doing? And so change the language and flipped our sales process and then got that embedded in the business. So I kind of did that. That's one of the first pieces of work I did so that I could then talk to this customer's buying journey and the buying path. Everybody understood the terms of what we meant. Sales Hub, we had content everywhere. We created sort of a landing page just using SharePoint. We don't have any fancy tools of yet, but sales would just come to one place to either do their expenses or to find a bit of content. Anything they might need was in a single space. And I'd introduced some new planning as well in the business. From a talent, we've stood up a sales academy and standing up a sales academy. So that is from what I call from pre-hire to retire. So how are our job ads written? I reworked with HR on that. So we're attracting the right talent and more women in sales, hopefully. I also looked at with HR, so you collaborate with it, don't take over them, would be my look at the competencies for the type of seller we want for tomorrow, not the type of sellers we've been hiring for ages. So we took those sorts of things, that's what I mean, from pre-hire in a sales academy, built an onboarding program, which we've just automated, all the way through to the sales training that someone might be served, and et cetera, and certifications and things. So that's sort of our sales academy. We run the Challenger workshops. We have coaching programs in the sales academy as well for our managers. And from a solution and services enablement, I've highlighted this one. This was a way to make sure we connect with the business. So we're part of the planning process for all our business units every year. We sit within them when they're looking at the next strategic goals and objectives that are being handed down. And then we work with every frontline manager on the strategies they need to deliver in their business plan and make sure the enablement then we're serving, whether it be certain training if we've brought out something to do around Microsoft Azure, is that region, working or goaling on that to make sure we enable to those that basically to their business plan. And then also looking at down at the rep level on strengths and weaknesses. And so who needs what talent, encouragement from within the business plan. So once the managers have we've done their planning with them, we then go through their business plan with them, and our stuff is in their business plan and what they're planning. And then, of course, you've got to work on that every quarter with them. That way you're aligning back to the strategy of the business with the basics. And from a content perspective, I left content to last because, the marketing and sales being a serial engine, as in marketing lead, hand off to sales, hopefully you close, and those issues that Kat was talking about. Me and the CMO have got this. Well, sales and marketing is a parallel engine now. From the beginning of the life cycle of the customer, where we're either reaching out and helping the customer understand what they don't even know yet, all the way through to adoption and implementation of what it is we're selling. So our shared content strategy is, we ask 4 questions, I guess. So whether it's the solutions group creating content, one of our technical experts is writing a blog. Is it customer facing or is it seller facing? That's the first question we ask. Is the purpose it's ready for the customer straight away? Or is it for the rep to be learning? And then at what stage of the buying journey is it at? Is it written for learning and understanding what they might need in their business? Or is it in that buying process through to negotiation? Or is that content to help them implement and maybe some sort of ROI tools, etc., on the implementation side? So we've been going through all our content with our solutions group and our marketing group, and we now align it to those phases, awareness, buying or adoption, then that helps the rep know what to use, what content when, that is going to move the deal forward. Some other things there. So to cut a long story short, so where are we now? I told you that it was 44% of reps out of 111 that were eligible were making target. The next year, you could see our reps dive down. We got rid of some that weren't so much on the journey, or they self-selected, I should say. Or their numbers were showing that they weren't adjusting. But over 57% of our reps were making target. Then it's moved up to 60%, and now it's 65% of our reps are making quota, and you can see we haven't thrown or doubled the sales size of the team. Our revenues back then were about 850 mil, I think, and 1.4 billion last financial year. So our revenue's been growing with that, as have our profits and our share price. So enablement's a whole of company collaboration. We're a big technology and services company, but we don't make anything. So, we're a people company, and we're a sales business, and it's okay to be a sales business selling other people's things. But to get the sales bit right and the enablement right, a big lesson for me is to do that collaboratively. There's some takeaways that I found, and it be the personal trainer, I think, in your org and not the bartender. So my last, as sales enablement professionals, do we want to be bartenders or do we want to be personal trainers? That's it.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Do we have any questions? Yes.
Thanks, Em. Yeah.
How are you finding the culture? These are the ones that are not getting involved. What's that culture like? What's the change in that? Do you feel it inspiring each other on? Do you feel that those that are not making it just
I think you always have a group of your reps that won't make club, right? You've always got reps that aren't perfect, that will either self-select or you manage out. And that's probably, I think someone said to me once, I think it was Brent Adamson when I was at one of the Gartner conferences, I told him what we'd done with our numbers, and he said to me, your targets are too low. So he said, if you do look at any of the research from CISO Insights or Gartner, it's about those best in class, which are dynamically, their tools serve up content, they're using AI to deliver everything without the rep sort of thinking, and they've got their AI sales assistant. They're achieving about 67% to 70% of quota. Those best in class, seen as trusted advisors, not preferred suppliers. To answer your question, I think more directly though, people want to aspire to be that, and coaching those that are at 80%, you get a great lift up, and that's what we've targeted that with our quota. Don't just spend all your time with the high performers. Coach them for retention and coach the 80% plus and you'll get a markedly jump in performance, which is one of the things we did in that year that it jumped pretty significantly. It's not easy though. You've got to keep the culture going and keep that coaching culture going with your coaches as well, like your manager, the frontline managers. I would say is number one target and active stuff that where I'm focusing at the moment to keep them going and motivated.
Fantastic, thank you. One more question.
How are you enabling those frontline sales managers, right? You've done a great job with the sales staff. Is there any work going leadership?
Sorry, so how do we deliver enablement? Is that? Yeah, it could be in-person sessions. It's usually it's we're not doing the training. It's other people. It's the tech experts getting in front of them. We do a couple of things. We're just experimenting with an experience room.
Great.
Iris knows what that is, where you walk in and touch and feel stuff and move stuff around and pick things up and learn through physicality. There's some stuff on the SES website about experience rooms, through to online, some video, stuff in news, reminders, using Teams, Microsoft Teams, as an information diet. So everybody's feeds that come in from, whether it's you're reading the Australian Fin Review or McKinsey's Insights or the Hacker News or mining news, if that's your territory, we bring all those sort of subscription news sources just into one place now, rather than clogging up your email box. So it could be many modes, I think, and working out what works. And you won't get everyone, which is okay.
Thank you very much. I think we have to break here. We'll have a coffee break outside, enjoy the sunshine, network, discuss, and then we'll be back here at 1:15. Thank you.